Welcome to the Growth Whisperers, where everything we talk about is how to build or building enduring great companies. I'm Brad Giles, and as always, I'm joined with my co-host, Kevin Lawrence. G'day, Kevin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brad. Actually, really looking forward to the show. We're talking about one of my favorite things to talk about with new clients that I get the opportunity to work with.
Awesome. I think this is episode 35 today. A bit of a milestone, I suppose.
Yep.
35 weeks. Yeah, not quite a year, but I just noticed that when we were talking about before. We've been going at it for a while and we've got some good ones on the board, but I'm also excited about today.
Awesome. So why don't we jump right in? What are we going to share and combine our thoughts around today, Brad?
One of the, I guess, like you said, one of the foundational elements, which is core purpose. Why does a company exist? So specifically, what's the purpose of your company, why that matters, and how to know if you've got it right. So we're going to dig deep into this really important subject.
Yeah, and I want to start with one of the questions that we often get asked. Well, we have a mission statement. What's a purpose? And people get these terms mixed up all the time. I've got a view on it. I'd be happy to hear yours to start off with, but let's start by defining the right terms and for the right things.
Yeah, it can get a bit messy. So I guess, well, Simon Sinek is a thought leader in this area. Simon Sinek, as a first point, he says this really simple phrase, which is people know what they do, they might know how they do it, but they don't know why they do it. So really core purpose is about why does your company exist? What would be missing if they went away?
Yes. And I'm curious, did Simon write that book after Jim Collins wrote about purpose in his books? I wonder who. I'm pretty sure
He
Jim was
definitely
first.
did.
And yeah, Jim was first, and then Simon almost built on it with his 3 circles that lots of people obviously know about. And it's a beautiful way to articulate it.
It is.
Yeah. So the way that I look at it is like mission statement is something that people used to do. The challenge with the frame mission statement in military terms, when you talk about a mission, it's actually like a tactical exercise. It's not the big overarching and unfortunately, I have a very strong, some might say angry bias against mission statements because they generally sound like this. We're going to be a great company and take care of our employees so that we have the services and the resources to support our clients with amazing customer service. And we are going to be an excellent community partner, giving back to the community that's given so much to us. And we're going to be amazing human beings. And we're going to bring in the bathtub and the kitchen sink and the dishwasher and the dog next door, and everything is going to be wonderful because we exist as an amazing company here on this beautiful planet called Earth.
Copy and paste.
That's what the damn things read like.
Yeah, I know, they're crazy.
There wasn't a person in the room that could edit. They took everyone's best ideas and jammed it together in one long freaking sentence. That means nothing. There's nothing distinct. Nothing meaningful. It's just a bunch of corporate blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So generally mission statements I've seen, not only are they, we're going to be a bunch of great everything that we're going to say all the things that everybody wants to hear in one sentence, but they don't drive meaning and impact in a company. So, I go back to the master of Jim Collins and say, okay, what does Jim call it? Jim says you need 3 things around your bigger picture. You need to have a thing called a BHAG, a big goal. You need a purpose, which is why you exist beyond profit. And you need core values, which is the behaviors that you live by in your company. There's no mission. There's no vision. Those things combined might create a vision. So we just sort of say, mission statement aside, or we rename it purpose, and then make it really meaningful, like really meaningful. So in simple terms, from my perspective is, purpose is a better way to look at, many people would have called their mission or their vision in the past. But really it's, why are you doing what you're doing beyond profit? What's your motive besides greed?
Mhm.
It's the heart and soul and the meaningful part of what you do, not the monetary part of what you do.
You could have picked
Sorry for my
anything.
rant there, but yeah. What's that?
No, that's all good. You could have picked anything to do. There's a whole range of different industries and different
Yes.
segments within those industries. Why did you pick this one? What is it that attracted beyond profit? We keep saying that. So I like to think of it as in, when we look through these things, I kind of say we look through different lenses. So imagine you've got a pair of glasses that's red and one that's green and one that's blue.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it like that. When we look through the profit lens, okay, how do we make more profit? We put that on and we only think about it through that lens. But then we take that off and then we put the purpose lens on at this point, which is we don't think about the profit. We only think about why we exist. So that you've got to be able to say, not pollute this, but what are you passionate about? What are you really passionate about? And why this company? Why do you devote
Exactly.
your creative energies here as opposed to somewhere else?
Yeah. It's a great way of putting it. And I mean, it's this distinct reason why you started it, knowing that you could have made money anywhere, right? Purpose beyond profit, right? Meaning over money, whatever you want to look at. So it's very clear what it is. And we'll give you some great examples. So, I remember a company that I did some work with here in Vancouver, called Coastal Contacts, Clearly Contacts. They had a few different brands, but they were
Mm.
online glasses and contact lenses. And theirs was what was the word? I'll remember it in a minute. It was really, really powerful, but the essence of it was to stop the price gouging by optometrists,
Yeah.
because optometrists controlled your prescription and therefore you had to buy glasses and contacts from them. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to break the eye care cartel.
Uh-huh.
Literally, they looked at it like a drug cartel, and in a sense, but it really is to break it so that they could democratize prescriptions in Canada and other countries. So then you could buy them wherever you wanted, and basically have more of a free market of where you could buy your glasses and contacts. And so that was theirs. It was a rallying cry. I remember I did, I had a session where I did an education session on these tools that we use in scaling up. And they brought everyone in by busloads to a hotel I was at. And half-day sessions for 3 days, just busloads of people would come in and out to teach them the methodology so they could continue to grow, so they could break the eye care cartel. And it was a rallying cry for them. And other examples like, a company like Walt Disney, which is to make people happy, right?
Yeah.
Like they make billions of dollars doing it. But the drive is to make people happy. And it goes right back to the founder or founders, because, Walt Disney founded it with his brother, Ray. But it is to make people, at every touch point you have with Disney, almost every single thing, you come away feeling happy. And that's something that they're driven to. And I remember one other, and it was a company that I worked with for quite a few years. I still, the founder is still a good friend. I talk to him regularly. But it's a company called AquaGuard Spill Response in North Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
Nigel is actually one of the opening stories, is the opening story in Your Oxygen Mask First. And when we were trying to figure out his purpose, and this is the thing, it's sometimes so deep in our heart, we can't see it. It's always there in the heart of the founder, always. It was never just to make money. They always wanted to do it better or different or for another reason. And so we were trying to figure out his purpose. And again, the company's name is AquaGuard. and they clean. They have amazing equipment to, when there's an oil spill, to pull the oil out of the water very efficiently and clean up the mess that gets made when there's oil spills. So anyways, they're talking, and we worked on it. We had it on our plan, and we just couldn't nail it. We talked about it. We couldn't nail it because we were too close to it. And then one day he's interviewing a president for the company. And this guy came from a company that made consumables that people have for a couple of years and then chuck. And he goes, you know what? The president interview. I want to work with you guys because you guys don't make junk to fill the landfills. Actually, you guys like protect the world's number one resource, and that's water.
Yeah.
And Nigel, the CEO, goes, yeah, that's great. And he writes it down. He goes, man, I just got my purpose. You're hired. So
that's awesome.
Half of that was great because he got his purpose.
Yeah.
The guy ended up being a little bit not quite a culture fit. A bit of an ass. I actually almost had the guy pinned up against the wall once. Like energetically, I was pinning up against the wall. I backed him up against the wall and was talking to him about some stuff he was doing that was not okay.
Yeah.
I was watching his hands as he was doing it because he probably could have knocked me out. But he was a good human being, not the right fit. Way too of an aggressive, abrasive type person for the company. Point of it is, he didn't last.
Yep.
But Nigel found his purpose. So it's to protect the world's number one resource, water. But the punchline, as you've probably already figured out, Brad, is if you go back to the name, AquaGuard, water guard, water protect. It was in the freaking name.
Yeah.
The name had the purpose embedded in it. We were just so close to it, we couldn't see it until this outsider shared it.
So here's the thing, right? With both of those examples, if we do that really, really well, if we protect the water and we clean up the spills as good as we can, we will make a lot more money, but we can't look at it through that lens. And the other example as well that you provided, we will make a lot more money. So that's the irony of purpose. You've got to put the kind of, horses have got blinkers. You've got
this
to
is
put
not
the
a
blinkers.
tree hugger. We don't care about profit. We're not commercial. It ain't that.
No.
It's just starting with being a company that actually has a big cares and gives a crap.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to be able to tap into it. And the irony is, I absolutely guarantee that when you've spoken to those leaders before, you could see that passion to protect the water. You could see the passion in those other leaders. You can see it. It's as plain as day. This is what they really want to do. And you can draw on that to get the purpose. And people line up behind a purpose to, I guess, to commit to that purpose. It's really a really, really valuable tool. So there's a company that I work with in Sydney, and they're a Christmas company. Okay. So what that means is they do decorations for public spaces. Think about shopping centers and malls and airports, all of enormous public spaces, and they've got a large portion of the market. And so for them, they'd engaged a marketing firm to come in and to try to figure out their core values and their core purpose. I think you can probably guess how that went, right? It was just not good. I'm sure that there are marketing companies that
marketing firms. Marketing firms, we love them. They're very, very valuable. But there's a big difference between marketing and culture. And sometimes marketing firms have a hard time identifying the culture, but they sure can identify great stories for marketing and brand.
And great at that. And great at that. And there's all sorts of different ones. Some of them might be good at this stuff. But what I ended up with when I started working with this company was, it was a terrible, terrible tagline that was inserted into the core purpose area. And the CEO had paid, let's say, more than $10,000 for it and thought it was, because he paid for it, thought it was good. No one on the leadership team knew what it was. Okay. So we just started an exercise and said, so, what are you passionate about? And they were like, we love it when we go out there and we create these beautiful sceneries. Like, it's like, imagine the most beautiful Christmas decoration scenery. When we do that and the kids come in and they're running and laughing and the mums are happy because the kids are, the mums and dads are happy because the kids are loving it. And it was just there. And so we ended up saying to create magical and memorable experiences that bring joy. And it probably took us a few quarters to absolutely nail that. We went through a couple of iterations, but then we just kind of nailed it. And they said, that's it. We're not changing it. We've absolutely got it. Like, that's why we exist. When we do that, it's awesome. And like I said before, the really important thing to understand about it is that if we can create more magical and memorable experiences that bring more joy, we'll make more money. But that's another lens. So the more that we can live our purpose, the more that we can be a profitable, enduring company.
Yes. And enduring is also key because it kind of provides that North Star or Southern Cross for our thinking to know it should take us in that direction. It should be consistent with that and then not end up in weird places, right? We have other things to help with that, but it's one of the pieces that we can calibrate to. And it's more about maybe not about the what we do, but it's about the how we do it and making sure that it fits within that way of thinking and being. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, we got examples after example. I'm sure maybe we should share a couple more. And, one of a large real estate developer that I work with in India, worked on for probably 10 years. It's the Gupta brothers and a company called Ashana Homes. And I think, anyways, they're just amazing. They take big chunks of land and build developments in India, but with amazing community services in the middle. And they vibrant communities with, swimming lessons and singing lessons and dancing lessons and, and education centers for the kids. It's, they really, really care. And even to the point that they maintain the properties they sell forever. Most real estate developers, once they sell a property, they're done with it in most countries that I've ever worked in around the world. They take a property, they sell it off in strata units, so there's, all the community owns their little piece. And then, a property manager takes it over. Ashana, they service it forever, which is servicing it and maintaining properties is one of the hardest parts of the business. And you ask yourself, well, why do they do it? Well, their purpose is called nurturing smiles, right? It's like they actually are driven by creating happy, vibrant communities. They really, really care about people living a great life in their communities. And they want lots of people to live in their communities because they think for the middle income group they serve, that it will be a better life for them and their families. Yeah. And by the way, nurturing smiles, when I meet with these guys, and unfortunately it's been more on Zoom recently and not there. I was supposed to be there. Actually, I was supposed to be there when COVID locked the world down. I was within 12 hours of taking a last minute flight to get there. I would have been stuck there for a while. Wow. Not the worst place in the world to get stuck. I love it there. And I love those guys. But when I'm with them, normally my face hurts because we laugh so much and we have a ton of fun because they're about creating happiness. Yeah. And smiles in what they do. So it really drives a lot of the things that they do. And it's, their father started it and they want to keep that alive and keep that happiness alive. So it's awesome. It just, when a company is really purpose-led, you can feel it. Yeah, totally. You can see it in the, and by the way, I don't know about you. You ever work with a company that is just about profit? I can tell. Yeah. You can feel when people have that long-term thinking, that enduring thinking, and aren't just thinking about the short-term buck. And it's easier when founders are still involved because founders have that.
But do you know what's through all of that? Do you know what's also awesome is when you nail the core purpose, and the whole leadership team are like, it's like they've just had a light bulb appear over their head, or they've got that like they've just maybe not fallen in love, but they're just like, this is finally we understand why we can articulate why we've been here.
Yes.
And it's so motivational and good. Like good to observe, we're a part of the team, but equally we aren't, if that makes sense. But when you see that, it's just so rewarding to watch a team nail their core purpose and then just begin to kind of think, wow, if we can continue to do this, we've been doing it, but if we can continue to do this, like, this really matters. This is really important to us.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And because it's almost an excavation or a showing of it, or helping them discover it. You don't invent it. You don't decide what it's going to be. It's already there.
Yeah.
It's already there. Unless the company has really lost its way, then you have to go back, 5, 10, 20 years. And that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to capture this heart and soul of the business to make sure we don't lose it along the way and just become a big soulless machine. But it's an amazing
which is
uncovery.
Easy.
In all the pressures and the stresses and things you got to do, it's easy to lose your way with it.
Especially in companies that are listed on the stock market, where there can easily be a sense that why do we exist? Well, to provide a return to shareholders,
because that's the environment they're in all day, every day. And it can also be hard with, depending on some, listed companies, sometimes, when there's a lot of external money in it.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's private equity owned or others, or owned by a big corporate that doesn't have a purpose, it's easy because the money is there to get a financial return.
Yeah.
Because it's an investment instrument.
Yeah.
But for the founder and the leaders, it's not just an investment instrument. Normally it's something that they actually care about. So there's kind of different, not conflict of interest. There's different interest. Capital is looking for a return from an instrument. That's really all they're thinking about. Whereas, the person who wants to build this company for generations has a different mindset.
But the job of the leadership team is to look through different lenses. You've got to be able to take off the making money lens to put on the core purpose lens, and not get polluted by that other one. Because let me tell you, when we put on the making money lens, we are the sole, absolute, complete, dedicated focus. Like, how do we make the greatest return that we possibly can? But then we take that lens off, and then we've got to look at this purpose lens and say, well, why do we exist? And it can be an unfamiliar or strange concept for people to get sometimes, but it can't only be money, or else you end up being
and it can't only be purpose. Because if you're only focused on purpose, you're going to turn into a not-for-profit. And that's, it's the balancing of I'm wondering, Brad, if you need one lens that's purpose and the other that's profit. You need to have, it's almost like looking through both lenses at the same time. There's always a little bit of the purpose and a whole bunch of the profit. But it's like if the purpose lens disappears, you could go off in weird directions.
Well, they've got to fit together. One of the things that I talk to teams about is I've got this kind of slide, and imagine a jigsaw puzzle that's not quite finished. Okay.
Yep.
And I say, the first slide is, you can't really tell what it is. It's just a few jigsaw pieces. But then the second one is, it's a jigsaw that's completed, which is a Matisse water painting. And it's like, these things have to fit together. So your purpose has to logically fit with your profit per X. It has to
Yeah.
logically fit with what you can be best at. But then all of the other things that are within your business plan, like these things have to fit together. If we make more, if we live our purpose more, it should contribute to more profit per X. And it's a little bit of art and a little bit of science through that, but they've got
Yes.
to fit together.
They both got to be there. And last thing I'll say, and we can maybe get into some of the details, but there's a little bit of a tribute to Tony Hsieh from Zappos, who sadly passed away
Yeah.
this week as we're recording this. And he wrote an awesome book, Delivering Happiness. And that was getting back to the purpose of Zappos. That was the online shoe business that he sold to Amazon at least a decade ago, although we continued stayed on until just recently. But it was about delivering happiness. And really, Zappos was trying to make people happy through these packages, that the things that people would order, and when they would receive them in the mail, and that fit back into their customer service culture and all of these other things that they did. But in his mind, they were in the happiness business. And as someone who likes to buy things online, I can understand and appreciate that. Anyways, to attribute him, he was an awesome, inspiring leader, and did a lot of work and shared a lot of examples for people around purpose and values and culture. So,
When I was in Las Vegas, I'm going to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and got to do the tour of Zappos, and that delivering happiness was everywhere. Like their core purpose, every person, every interaction, it was. You could just sense it all over the place. It was what they were, and he was a fantastic philanthropist as well.
yes, he was.
A little bit off the subject, but yeah, the work that he did for the Las Vegas community was remarkable. I've heard so many stories from people in the entrepreneurs organization in online communities about the work that he did beyond what you kind of heard or saw. So yeah, fantastic entrepreneur who really lived his purpose.
Yes, great example. So let's just kind of quickly go through, the things that, if you don't have one, why should you have one? We got a few points that we can kind of have people really kind of list off, make sure people get it.
Yeah. Well, if you're only about money, think about some of the examples we provided. So if you're only about money, okay, we're here to make money. I'm here to make money. You're here to make money. That's it. That's all I want to talk about all day, every day. You may have a superficial alignment and engagement, but you don't really. Like, you're not tapping into the deeper human spirit and volunteerism around what matters to people. So it's important if you're looking at it, to say that people actually want to be connected to something, some vision, some reason for being. It's a deep human need that we need to tap into. And if you can tap into it, to kind of be a bit more capitalist, you actually get a lot more out of people, because they feel like they're working for a reason rather than a dollar.
Yes. And, people, forget sometimes, one of the lower paid jobs in a lot of countries in the world, lower, not lowest, is soldiers, right? Soldiers don't get paid. They're not the highest paid for sure, right? They get paid reasonable wages, like reasonable compared to hourly wages. But those soldiers care about their country and what their country stands for. And they will, in some cases, they give their lives to fight for what they believe in their country. And their biggest award and how they do it is based on pride, or even getting a ribbon or a medal of honor for their country. You can't buy that.
Yeah.
And the great militaries of the world know, and they know that people want to take care of their country and protect their country and the meaning behind it. And they don't go around just offering massive financial incentives to go and do it, because they know that's not what's, and the people that only come in for money, they're probably not going to stay when it gets tough. They're going to stay because they really care. And that caring is linked to a commitment. So
look, I don't have one immediately. Sorry, I don't have one immediately, but there's been a number of employee engagement surveys, and pay is like number 7 in terms of,
Yep.
what matters to you about your job, and, why do you stay here? Uh, you look at
Yes.
all of the surveys come back the same way. Pay, it's it's like it's like food and oxygen. Okay, they're important to living, but they're not the reason for living. Like, the
Correct.
reason for living
People
is bigger than that.
overvalue, people over believe in how important money is in decisions in people's lives. There's a great book called The 7 Hidden Reasons Employees Leave. And based on exit interviews, you know what's not in the 7? More
Pay.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pay is number 8.
Yeah.
Right. In even that study of it's either 10 or 20,000 exit interviews. Yeah. So first, engagement for sure. It engages people and makes you part of something meaningful, which we all want to be part of something meaningful.
Yeah.
You're right. It's when you're beyond basic survival, right? Beyond, like, if you can't pay your bills, but once you can sleep and eat and shelter and, and feed your family. Second thing is it really helps to pull a leadership team and an extended team together, helps to align people. It gives us that common. So first thing is meaning. Second is more like a common rallying cry, or what we're here for.
Yeah.
Common, a belief that we believe in. And ideally with your purpose, it should bring the right people in, and then the others don't want to come.
Yeah.
Right. And if you only bring people into money, I just finished listening to this amazing book about Stephen Cohen, who is from famous hedge fund multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
And it was just about the experience of the hedge fund business and what happened in the hedge fund business. Their purpose was profit. Many ended up in jail. Many were potentially going to go to jail because they were doing everything possible to make profit, and a lot of it wasn't legal, right? And there was so much of it, and it was the culture they were surrounded by. The purpose was profit.
Yeah, which will lead, like, okay, so that's why we're here. That's why we exist, is to make profit. How can we make more profit, and then more profit, and then more
What
profit?
else could we do? What else could we do? What else could we do? Yes. And when you incentivize your people heavily on the profit, and you have a culture getting more profit, I mean, you're setting yourself up for danger. Yeah, unless you don't mind committing crimes and going to jail. And that's, and that would be, that ties into number 3, is that it kind of gets, it gets beyond just greed.
Yeah.
Right? And building a company around greed, I mean, maybe it works for you. I don't want to be a part of a company that's just about, I love profit is wonderful. I'm not I love profit, and more profit is what is a measure of success in business. But just greed, if you have a culture that's just about making money / greed, one, it can bring in some crazy people, and it can bring in some crazy thinking, and it can lead you to some crazy results, right? And crazy things will happen in those cultures, and and maybe that's what you want, but it kind of keeps
you go into a job interview and you get a millennial to come in, and they sit across the table, and then they say to you, so why does this company exist? And then you say, so that I can make a lot more money and buy a bigger boat and have a fancier house, and hopefully I'm going to get a plane one day. And their eyes will glaze over instantly, and they will never take the job. Like millennials, like younger generations, we sound like 2 old men that we look like. Younger generations are absolutely about purpose. Like, what is the difference that you're going to make in the world? How are you going to make the world a better place?
But Brad, I think that's not just younger generations. I think people that are above poverty and survival are that way. Right? If you really think about it, yes, you hear lots of these stories about millennials, but I think there's a lot of people that aren't millennials that want to feel important, and they're like a part of something important and meaningful. Again, we could debate that. We don't need to debate that.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It might just be a bit more obvious in millennials. They might be a bit more vocal about it,
or topical.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I mean, there's people that come from other generations where it was a lot less abundant, so like they were just happy to have a job and to slog away.
Yeah.
where a lot of millennials come from more abundant environments, so they almost feel they have more choice, and they're more. It's easier for them to honor their values and their own purpose, I think.
I think the side part that we're saying is you're never going to build a team of A players if you're only focused on profit.
Well, I would argue that you actually could. You can build a team of greedy A players that only care about it and could make a lot of money. Just got to be careful, because you might end up going to jail. And I'm not going to be very generic in what I want to say. I worked with a company that was quite successful, and we worked on the purpose, but for a number of the people, profit was the number one motive.
Yeah.
And without divulging any particulars, there's one gentleman that almost caused a few of them to go to jail, or could have caused a few of them to go to jail. He actually didn't go to jail himself, but he could have. There was the quite likely, I don't know. I'm not the judge, and I don't have all the data, but there was potential for a case that he could have gone to jail for what he did. And he could have caused other people to potentially go to jail because of that. And that's dangerous stuff.
There's nothing that you said that makes a high quality A player want to work for that organization.
But they did have some high quality A players there. They had some very, very high quality people. So there was most A players for what they were, for what the company was. What I'm saying is, you can build a high performing team, but if you just build them around profit or too much around greed, it's really dangerous, because they will get there. They will crush the goals. They will get the performance. It's just at what cost?
Yeah, that's it. And I think about Jordan Belfort and all of the stuff that we saw in the movie, that was produced about him. And yeah, I mean, a purpose will tie a team together, and it's just so important.
It is. So the final thing is, it also tells us what not to do. If we know what we are about and who we are about, it can kind of keep us and provide guardrails and tell us some of the things that we shouldn't do. Because if it doesn't tie back into that, why would we be doing it? Right? And there was some controversy in Disney by the Disney family when the CEO of Disney, I believe it was Michael Eisner at the time, but it might have been somebody else. But the CEO of Disney at the time was starting to get into some television networks where they had a little bit of racy adult programming, not adult as in pornography adult, but just stuff that you wouldn't want families watching.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of controversy. I read about the controversy within it, because the family didn't believe in it, because it was almost, in their mind, it was off purpose. It's about some of the stuff in there didn't fit with their making people happy. And so
let's just on that super quick. So we go back to your example of the company that was AquaGuard. AquaGuard, so protecting the water. So with a good purpose, they should be able to say, which they've got, is it helping us to protect the water? So they're going to take on a new initiative. Maybe they're saying,
totally.
All right, we're going to start selling alcohol, or we're going to start selling trucks, or something completely unrelated. We shouldn't do it because it doesn't help us to
further our purpose.
Further our
interestingly, Nigel, the founder, and I were having a co-founder actually. He bought his partner out at one point. We're having a conversation with this because he was figuring out what he was going to do next. He's got a great president that runs the company, and he's got time. What was he going to do? Well, he started another business called True Beach, which is a app to help measure the cleanest beaches around the world, and to help people report, beaches where there's lots of garbage and things that are polluting the beach, and then have crews that go and help clean up some of these beaches. Wow. So it's another thing about protecting water, and not in the form of protecting beaches, which I thought was awesome. Again, because it ties back into the purpose of the company, which is his purpose as well.
I love that. That's so good. So how do you know if you have it right? So that's That's why you need one, the first few things we've been through. But now let's
Yeah.
pivot a little bit. How do you know if you've already got a core purpose? How do you know that you've got it right? Well, first of all, like it's easy to understand. It should be simple to protect the water. Maybe I didn't do that justice, but it's something like that, right? To
Yeah.
create memorable and magical experiences that bring joy. Simple.
To
It
make
should
people happy. Yeah, I've got
to
a
make
company in
people happy.
Canada that I've worked with for years. They're throughout North America. It's called the Little Potato Company, and their
Mm.
purpose is to save the potato and feed the world better. That's been their purpose for a decade, and they keep growing. But in a company, it's in the heart and soul. Like they want potatoes were dying off. People they got big, bland, and boring, and potato consumption was dropping. They have these little, colorful, more nutritious, more flavorful potatoes. And now they're building consumption of theirs and bringing the potato back to life. And they also believe in it as an amazing, efficient food crop and all these other things around feeding the world better. And they donate an incredible amount of potatoes to food banks. Like it's alive in the company, right? It's
Yeah.
meaningful to them, and it's yeah. Anyways, there's lots of examples, but it's very
But
simple.
that's a great example because you would think that potato farming might not be the thing that you could find a core purpose on. And you can find a core purpose everywhere. Like there are people who are passionate about so many things. And it,
Yes.
like we said before, you've just got to discover it. You've got to like sift away the dirt and it's in there. You've just got to find it. And when you unlock it, you're right. So if that's number one, it's got to be simple and easy to understand. Number two, it should inspire you and your team.
Yes.
So it
You
should be
feel it.
inspirational.
It's not
Yeah.
just logical. When it grabs, another entrepreneur, he was actually a manufacturer. And, when we were doing the discovery part of the purpose, I kept asking, well, why did you start it? Why? What was it was all this intellectual stuff. And finally we got to a point and he started crying.
Awesome.
And you're there. And,
Yeah.
and for him, it was to give opportunity to everyone and anyone in their business. They often hire down and out people and gave them opportunity in their factory. And in his mind, any one of them had the opportunity to have his job, to have the pride and the dignity of building a great career. And they could, if they did the work and earned their way, do his job or any job in the company. But it was giving opportunity to everyone and anyone.
That's so nice. Yeah.
It was. And so now, and the business made a lot of money too. But
Yeah.
that's what drove his heart. That was so true for him. So there's lots of examples, but it should inspire you and your team and be something that you're like, this gets me excited. And even going back to the potato people, Angela, the Santiago, the CEO, I remember when she first started, she finally crafted a story about her purpose and she made a PowerPoint presentation. I am not exaggerating. When she did it the first time, my eyes started to well up.
Awesome.
She was talking about potatoes, but it was so meaningful to her. I could feel the energy and the passion, and it was impactful
Yeah.
because it's a cause for her and her team. It's yeah. The next one is it's there's this distinction between a marketing tagline and then real heart and soul. And that's why, look, I come from the marketing industry. So I'm calling myself out on this, is that we generally don't let marketing touch it until it's finished.
Yeah.
Because marketing by nature, most, not all, but a majority of marketing goes towards the customer and forward facing, customer facing and positioning. And if you go to that too much, you'll miss the heart and soul. You'll be up
Yeah.
in the brain thinking about what the customer needs and how it benefits the customer. So this is a heart and soul exercise. And so, we don't let the marketing department run it for sure. And we love marketing departments, but it's more done with the founder and the exec team if we can, to really discover it. And we let the marketers do some stuff with it afterwards. And that way it stays away from being a tagline or a slick slogan, and we can really capture the essence.
Yeah. Taglines. I don't know. They it's a perfectly good waste of pixels many times. Like,
Yes.
like, and I say that with an extremely dry sense of humor because pixels are free, right? Um, and so for those listening on the podcast, Kevin was laughing at that. I hope that
Yes,
somebody else
I
did
was. I
somewhere.
was
I
laughing.
certainly laughed. But the point is that taglines can be completely worthless, and it's like just to make if it sounds cool or it's like, yeah, that's pretty snappy. Like that means nothing. Like to
Then you're
save the
wrong.
potato, right? To save the potato, that's meaningful. That's connected to what the founder, what the leadership team are deeply, deeply passionate about. And that's why we're doing the
Right.
why
And
we're
in
doing the
that case,
purpose.
by the way, Angela and her father, and they have a video that their father shares it. Her father and her having conversations about the potatoes of her dad's youth. And they really, the essence of the genesis was bringing the potatoes of her dad's youth, which were way better than these big, bland, boring things, bringing them to life.
Yeah.
Right. And that it was all hard. So yeah. So I love marketers. We need marketers to help us share our messages and spread our messages. And there's some marketing firms that are good at this, but by nature, this is a conversation, founder or founders or the team to really tap into it. And then
Yeah.
we let the marketers run with stuff afterwards. But this is,
Yeah.
capture the heart and soul. It doesn't sound like a tagline. It's not something that you're going to run and tell your customers about. It's often even just an internal thing. It's not, sometimes it does, but sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't get used externally. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so many people say, so why did what are we going to do with this? And it's like, it doesn't matter what we're going to do with this. What matters, are we going to communicate this to clients or staff? Because that means that it's like, I don't even care
Yes.
about that. What matters is it true? Is it the reason that we exist?
Yes. Brad, I do
So
the same things. I'm like, look
yeah,
at, we're not going to think about our team. We're not even going to think about our customers at this point because it's not about them. It's capturing the essence of the heart and soul of the company.
yeah.
And that we don't want to pollute our thinking.
So then number 4, we've got forever, passion, and goal. What that means is, would it be still relevant in 100 years? Okay, so if your purpose, let's say, for example, something that's completely timely to, I don't know, Facebook or coronavirus or 2020, like if it was completely timeless and could date and not even last a couple of years, but would this still be relevant in 100 years? So to create magical and memorable experiences that bring joy, 100 years, no problem. So to save the potato, 100 years, no problem. Like these are things that could be still as valid in 100 years as they are today. And that kind of tends to cut out a lot of weak or
Yeah,
unoriginal or inappropriate purposes.
absolutely. You can't even think of like for our firm, our purpose is to have CEOs and leaders have it all, which is success at work and a thriving life too. Right? Now that's something I've been working on for 25 years already. And I'm going to keep working on that the rest of my career. And hopefully the firm continues on beyond me and it continues to help CEOs and leaders have it all.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're fired up about. We don't just care about making money and we don't just care about having a great life. We want to, find the way to have the and in between the two.
And if you can help more CEOs to have it all, you will make more money. Like that is
Yes.
the essence of purpose. Like if we save the potato, we should be able to make more money. But it's not how we build it. It's got to connect to those other things. So I guess that really rounds out, if you've got one, how do you do it? So let's just maybe take a step back and look at the summary. So we've got 2 major parts here. The first one is, if you don't have one, why do you need it? So first of all, we said engagement, right? So we want the team to be connected to some vision beyond profit, something that's meaningful and bigger than them. It can align a leadership team, and it brings the team together, is number 2. It also can keep toxic thinking and corruption at bay, is number 3. But then number 4, if you don't have one, why do you need one? Is it tells us what not to do. So it tells us what strategies to not pursue. And that's really important when you're thinking, how are we going to use this if we start one in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? It gives you a level of discipline. But if you've already got one, what do you do? If you've already got a core purpose, how do you know it's right? Well, number 1, it's easy to understand. It's simple. Number 2 is it should inspire you and your team. It should be inspirational. Save the potato is inspirational. It's got a real heart and soul. It should have a almost visceral, when you think about it enough, effect on you. It's not just a tagline that might sound snappy. And then I guess number 4 would be it's able to be still as relevant in 100 years. It's like it's forever.
Yep. Great summary, Brad. I'll just share one last example, and I'd be remiss not to share this. A CEO I work with in Chicago, I've got, annual planning with them starting tomorrow morning. His name's Andrew Lamoris, company called Medics. He wrote a book about this called One with Purpose. And he tells the story of how he used purpose to lead his son's football team to victory in a way that's unbelievable. He got these young boys playing for someone else. And there was a young girl in the community who passed away of cancer. And her name was Katrin, and they had this thing called Katrin's Rock that Andrew led the charge to get it built at the park near her house. He would have the boys go there, is where they practice football, and go and be committing their game for Katrin before they played. So this whole purpose about playing for somebody else, which is a beautiful thing to teach young athletes. Yeah. You don't see a lot of that. Yeah. And he shares in the same year how he led his football team to an amazing victory. And at the same time, his company hit the first of the company's Super Bowls, which was $100 million in revenue. And he said to the whole team, of which I'm, been their coach for years, that I have my first Super Bowl ring from him. We hit 100 million. This year we're probably going to get our second ring because the company is doing outstanding, just amazing, amazing company. But he wrote this book about winning with purpose and how he believes it helped his football team to win, which I think it did, and his company, because it's more than just profit. Anyways, One with Purpose. If you want to read about a perspective, if you're a football fan, from a CEO who's kind of used it in both sport and in business. Awesome. Well, this has been the Growth Whisperers podcast with Brad and Kevin. Thanks for listening. And, if you want the video version, go to YouTube and search the Growth Whisperers. And to reach Brad, evolutionpartners.com.au, or for me, lawrenceandco.com. Have an awesome week.